to be here can hear what we have to say of exciting and new. I think so that we can be on the same page, I am going to share my screen and look first at Learning Hub, or actually first at Andrews University. I do not get tired of looking at that. Okay, so assignment 1, everybody has feedback. I am going to take the time, hi Tim, I'm going to take the time to go back through hi, in more detail and give you very specific feedback on your resume itself. So right now I looked through and I made a few comments if I saw something really big, but I will go through it as an HR professional and give you more feedback on that. Not as part of your grade, but as part of everyone's growth. Now, there was a lot of confusion on this sign up for Marketing Insights, and I apologize for that because the directions were the directions for the live class, the ground class, and not for the online. So I do want to know up front what topics you are wanting to write about. And I extended that so you can still put in your topics. Now, for the Marketing Insights, what we're going to do is if you scroll down to October 2 to October 8, do you see this box here, Marketing Insights 1? So when you click on that, this is a discussion forum. And you will add a new discussion. You'll put a subject. And then you will type a message. So please present your topic here and then comment on your classmates. And I will be looking for you to reply. So that's how you click on new discussion and you put in your topic. When you want to read someone's, you click on their discussion. You can read it. There's the link to her original article. And then you can come down here. You see where my mouse is? Click on reply. And then this is where you give feedback, answer questions, and I can't type. And it doesn't have any suggestions for changing it. Answer questions, interact. So this is an online environment where you can interact with each other, and hopefully this will give you a little bit of connection with the other 7 people in your online environment. So then you say post to forum, and Clementine will receive a notification that you responded to her. And then I will go in here and add your points into the assignment. So part of your points is for posting, and part of it is for interacting with your classmates. Okay? And you will do that twice for Marketing Insights. And then I'm going to go back and change some of the assignments based on some of the topics and change them to an interactive environment as well, so that you guys can see what each other is talking about, and you can give each other feedback. It creates a more dynamic online environment. And you know that taking a class online, you can feel a little isolated. So I'm going to give you guys probably you've got the 2 marketing insights, and then I'm going to add 3 assignments that are interactive as well. So you'll have 5 times that you're interacting online. Anyway, then your assignment number 2, is due tonight. So I want you to identify a nonprofit that you feel has more of a product or service push rather than really trying to get involved with the client and helping the client. So you've got some nonprofits that are really focused on how can we best serve the customer and bring change in their lives, and so they're really listening. Others are more of a push approach. So hopefully you can come up with an example of one of those push approaches, and then how can you, what would you suggest to them to help them change that mindset? I wanted to run something by you guys, and since 3 of you are here, you're going to be the ones who get to have a say on this. Because we talk on Monday and the assignment is due Monday, and then the lecture doesn't get back to me, the recorded lecture doesn't get back to me till like usually Wednesday night, and then Thursday I'm posting it. I don't want to confuse you guys any, but I think I'm going to extend all of the deadlines every week to Friday. Would that be acceptable, or is that too confusing? Yes? No? Tim?
Yeah, that's acceptable. That's good.
Yeah? You can still turn it in on Monday or even Sunday, okay? But I'm going to give you guys that time just in case you're looking at the assignment and you're confused. When I go to class on Monday night, if you're confused, the students in the classroom are going to be confused, and they're going to ask questions, and I can clarify and just give you that extra little time to get something turned in, okay? But past Friday, you will lose percentage points every time it's late, okay? So I will have to go through each one of the assignments and extend those deadlines, but it's a matter of clicking buttons. So anyway, any questions on assignment 2?
I'm pressing every button but the one I need to.
Okay.
The question I had while writing it, it seems like, you can have 2 target audiences in not-for-profit marketing as I try to work my way through it. You've got like the end user, right? So the victims,
yes.
The victims of the hurricanes, I would consider them to be the end user, whereas when I'm viewing an advertisement from a not-for-profit that's trying to provide aid to them, I'd be the target audience in terms of marketing. So I'm trying to wrap my mind around the not-for-profit space.
The non-for-profit, yes, it's quite complex because they're asking for support, they're asking for volunteers, financial support, donations. They're asking for volunteers, and they're serving a community. So the complexity of a nonprofit is much more, it's more complex than a business to business or a business to consumer, because it does add those extra audiences. But in this case, it is talking about that end user, the hurricane victim, the woman who's considering an abortion, the person who is trying to stop smoking, the person who needs health care and doesn't have insurance, those types of situations. Or a museum, the patrons who go to the museum, okay?
I have an additional question specifically about my writing then, but I won't take up the class this time.
Okay, we can stay on after
Okay.
we wrap up, just for a
Okay.
few minutes. Okay. Now I'm laughing to myself because I know I emailed you guys and said there were 2 things I was going to address, and I don't know what those 2 things were. Do you guys know? What did I say in my email? I said the marketing insights.
Discussion about your individual semester project.
Correct. There you go. So I do want to hear from you guys on what you're wanting to do for your project. So in 2 weeks, you have an outline for your project due. And so we've got 2 weeks to kind of narrow that topic down if we need to. So make sure that you upload a topic, whether you want to do a marketing plan for a specific organization, or if you want to do a research project. And I've heard from some, but not from everyone. So I wanted to make sure if anybody has questions on that I'm addressing it.
So I'm trying to be smart. I wanted to do a marketing plan for a church in Massachusetts. They're working to really ramp up their service to the community because they recently exchanged buildings and have done a great job of moving into a better facility and kind of building out community service projects. Because when they were leaving their last community, they did a quick survey of the neighborhood and they thought they were going to get a little bit of market insight to improve themselves. And what happened actually was the community simply said, "Who are you?" So after decades, they've been searching for a new location for 2 decades. Mind you, they've been around for a long time. I can't remember the original establishing date, but to leave after decades and have the neighborhood say, where are you? Who are you? They're really trying to improve their presence and their awareness building. So I really want that project to go through. The pastor is an Andrews alum. I'm hoping that he gets back to me. But the topic that I'd like to go after would be learning how to market churches.
That would be excellent. If you haven't been to Harbor of Hope, check it out.
Okay.
We just went through this last week. We've heard a lot about it. And last week, 2 days ago. And they are a community-focused church. One of the most community-focused churches I have ever stepped foot in.
Awesome.
And the community knows about them. You know. Perfect. So it's worth like picking their brain. You know, talk to the pastor. It is. I would say it's mostly an African American church, which I thought was great because it is in Benton Harbor.
Yeah.
So if you have too many pale faces, you scare people away, and it's not them. You know, it's not part of who they are. So I was very pleased with the ethnic mix, with the culture. It was Communion Sabbath, and the testimonies and everything were really community based. So
awesome.
And I've got materials if you want to stop by. I've got a little bit of stuff on church marketing.
Yeah, I know that's going to be my topic, whether it's a project or a research project. I don't know yet, but I'd be happy to stop by and chat about it before finalizing it.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions on your topic that I could address? Hey, you wrote me about your topic already, right? Yeah. Yes. So just let me know if you have any other questions on it, okay, that I can address. And if you guys work on your outline and, you know, start putting some ideas, I will give you feedback as many times as you submit it. So feel free to take advantage of my time. I'm here for you guys. Okay? And to me, these types of projects are the most exciting. Jim, you have something in mind already?
No, not yet. I'm still debating as if I should do a marketing plan or research paper.
Okay. Okay.
No, I'll make that decision today, though.
Okay, awesome. Very good. Okay, so tonight the topic is developing a target audience centered mindset. I ran across some research today that I'm going to post, and let's see if I can come up with it here. Nope, it wasn't that one. Let's see. There it is. Okay, you guys can see this, right? Okay. So this is the 2017 Nonprofit Communications Trends Report. They put this out every year, and I like looking at, like, for example, what I'm going to address in class tonight is this, the marketing maturity. So they talk about how mature is the marketing in that nonprofit. How mature is it? And they've got this scoring process. So I'm going to address that in more detail tonight. But it talks about, you know, what is the average size of a communication team? Now, nonprofits tend to call their marketing team a communication team. So you'll see a lot about communication where it's marketing overall. So it talks about their salaries, what their budgets are, effectiveness, etc. So I will be posting this so you guys can take a closer look at it. And hopefully you see something in here that piques your interest. So the target audience centered mindset is really that focus on truly understanding and filling the needs of your target audience, rather than assuming you're an expert and know what it's all about. So we're going to have a discussion about that this evening. I will post it afterwards. I don't know if you guys tried to listen to the one last week. They didn't give me a mic, and so I imagine the recording was hard to hear. And I will make sure tonight I have a mic so that it comes through clear for you guys. So that's really what I wanted to bring to you guys this evening, and I'll answer any questions you have right now. No?
I just have a question about assignment 2.
Okay. Well, do you think it would be, if it's helpful to others, we can just talk about it right now?
Sure, I have no problem, as long as everyone else is comfortable with that. So when I approached the paper, it was prior to when we had that discussion about target audience. Mm-hmm. And the organization that I selected was the American Red Cross. And the reason I chose them is because I've been hearing in the news about concerns about the appropriate use of funds following September 11, Katrina, and other catastrophic events.
Yeah.
And so my question is, I chose that the donors were the target audience and that they have a sales-oriented mindset rather than a target audience-oriented mindset.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I chose that is because despite all this confusion, despite all this concern that you can see clearly throughout social media and in the news about transparency in terms of appropriate use of funds, they just continue to request funds and demonstrate no particular change in their process in terms of using funds. So that's kind of how my whole paper was organized. The only issue that I see is I'm using the donor as the target audience rather than those that are the victims of the catastrophe.
That's fine, because you make a very valid point there. And it's just as valid to the donors and reaching the donors. I mean, a nonprofit, when they take our funds, they are speaking on our behalf. And there has been a lot of fear, a lot of complaints, a lot of mistrust because of misappropriation of funds, or because organizations take such a large percentage for themselves.
The thing that I found interesting about them is we have to recognize that another huge end user, air quotation mark, is the 3,000 hospitals that rely on them for blood. The majority of their brand and revenue lays in blood donations and medical services. So another thing that I kind of picked up while working on the assignment was, in the short term, they can probably get away with this type of behavior in terms of donations due to catastrophe. But in the long run, it'll damage their brand and possibly make partners back away from the lion's share of their revenue. So in the short run, they might be thinking like, oh, we're okay. We're still getting a bunch of donations and financing and grants due to our work in blood. But if they ask me like, hey, you're part of our marketing team, what concerns do you have? I think that's a long-term weakness.
Yeah.
To disappoint the public.
It's very, very dangerous to disappoint the public. And today, more than ever, because we have such easy access to sharing bad news, and you can shut down a nonprofit through the use of social media.
Right. Even one that's been around since the 1800s.
Exactly. And so, I mean, that really plays into their mindset. Do they truly believe that they are so superior and so great? United Way had a big scandal in the early 1990s, and they almost had to shut down over it.
Wow.
Misappropriation of funds where the CEO was using the corporate jet. He was flying friends around, let's go have dinner in San Francisco, flying from DC to San Francisco and filling the jet with his friends. And then it was like, oh yeah, let's go to the Bahamas, And I mean, literally, he was going all over the place. The news actually published how much money he had misappropriated just with a jet. They published his salary, which was in line with, if not bigger than, some Fortune 500 companies. At the time, he was making something like $3 million a year as a nonprofit CEO.
Cool.
So anyway, he was threatened with jail time and did not go to jail, but had to give up his home, obviously his job, and they had to reallocate funds. I mean, it was a huge deal. And the small United Way offices across the country paid a huge price for it, because people were like, why should we pay you any money? Why should we give so much to you guys when you're funneling money up to the top and people are going on vacation, or our hard-earned dollars? And they went through a really hard time over it. So, you know, and there's always a question of how does your overhead get paid, right, in a nonprofit? And a lot of donors want 100% of your money to go, of their donation, to go into the project, go to that end user target market. And yet somehow you need to be able to cover your expenses, right? So how you go about that, I don't know how ADRA does it, but I have a feeling that it's our church donations that cover a lot of the administrative expenses. And then when they get funding from USAID, then that goes towards project. So, because every organization has to do that somehow. The nonprofit that we visited in Nicaragua, they've been around for 30 years, and they were just audited by Deloitte in April. And Deloitte, in order for them to be internationally certified, they have to demonstrate that for the last 3 years, they have been able to pay for all of their overhead on their own, and that they can survive without donations. And so their model is they charge tuition for a local private high school that they run, and the profit from that high school runs their microcredit loans, runs their farm operation, and their medical clinic. And so any money that comes in goes straight into project because everyone's salary is already covered and the buildings are already covered. You know? So now they're finally open and ready for international funds. Because the large organizations, when they donate, will require that you prove to them that less than 10% of what they donate goes to administrative costs.
That's why in this assignment, the American Red Cross almost has a marketing slogan where they say 91 cents for every dollar goes towards the actual project.
Yes.
But obviously, that's being debated.
Yeah, yeah. So the goal of every nonprofit is to be under 10%. Above 10%, you lose your ability to get big funding, because the big foundations and everything, they want to make sure that their money is going to the project itself. Okay, anything else? So I'm going to put the PowerPoint. I have chapter 2 up there, but I added some stuff to it. So I'm going to change it out. Download that and go through the links that I uploaded to the PowerPoint. Because I put on there some of the worst nonprofits, some of the best nonprofits, these lists. And one of the lists that I put on there is a list of nonprofits that are scams that look very legitimate. You get materials in the mail, and you send them money, and lo and behold, it's going to someone's pocket. And I was surprised to see the names of the organizations, and then to realize I've given money to some of them. It's like, oh man, I gave money to someone who's going to be wasting it on themselves. But yeah, it's just an awareness that if you do donate, check out the organization. Don't do it blindly. And embrace causes that are true, that are truly there to help the target audience. Anyway, I will upload that as soon as we're done so that you have those links that you can play around with and look at later on. Okay, good to chat with you guys.